Thank you, Amrit. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's work group meeting for the Clean Off-Road Equipment Voucher Incentive Project, or CORE. My name is Todd Sterling, and I'm the lead staff overseeing the CORE program. And today I'm joined by several other staff from CARB and our project administrator, Kelstart. On the CARB side, if you'd like to introduce yourself, Tess. CCAT is here, and Matthew Daner is also here. Amrit Sandhu is at the controls. She's helping out. She's doing awesome. And then on the CalStart side, we have Jacob Whitston. Jacob, thank you. Before we get started, a little information on the work group logistics. Today's work group is being recorded, which is already started. And a copy of this recording will be posted on CARB's low carbon transportation webpage within the next few weeks. The presentation is not terribly long. I think it's best if we let me run through all the slides on my portion, and then we can answer the comments and questions you have at the end of the CARB presentation. And then, like I said earlier, Jacob will be presenting the CalStart portion of it, and then we can have question and answer at the end for his section. There'll be contact information at the end if you have additional questions or comments. This meeting will end at 11 a.m. this morning. If you have questions after this meeting, you can contact me through email or give me a call. If there are unanswered questions in the Q&A, I'll get back to you and answer your questions. And as always, we appreciate your patience. If we run into more technical glitches, hopefully not, but we appreciate your patience. The goal of today's work group is to provide a general overview of the final 2022 implementation manual, the review of items we have covered in the past two work group meetings. Once the overview is over, I will turn it over to CalStart and we can get into how manufacturers, dealers, and owners can apply to the CORE voucher program. Since the last work group meeting, we have met with over 30 zero-emission off-road equipment manufacturers. We discussed their equipment and the CORE voucher process. Now, a little overview of CORE, if you're not familiar with it. CORE is intended to accelerate the deployment of advanced technology in the off-road sector by providing a streamlined way for fleets to access funding, which can help offset the incremental costs of such technology. CORE targets commercial-ready products which have not yet achieved a significant market foothold. This program allows stacking, which means you can use funding for this program and other incentive programs, but still need to follow the incentive rules for each. Also, CORE does not require scrappage of one of your pieces of equipment. The program is first come, first served. And I'm reading this, but it really is an exciting time to have this funding. We're expanding to zero-emission equipment types we haven't before, and are putting a priority on small businesses and disadvantaged communities. So this is a really exciting time, and I just want to emphasize that. Next slide, Amrit. The CORE program has 9 funding categories. Added new categories such as construction, agriculture equipment, commercial hovercraft, and switcher locomotives. With the limitations that in the first 6 months, no one category can use 20% of the total funding. After 6 months, if there's still funding available, we'll open the remaining funding to all equipment types, all 9 categories. Also, during the first 5 days as categories fill, if a category maxes out, small businesses operating in disadvantaged communities will get moved to the top of the list. We hope this encourages owners and dealers to include small businesses operating in DACs in their sales. Yard trucks base voucher amounts will now be set at $120,000. We've added language to the new forklifts with a lift capacity of greater than 3,300 pounds. The voucher amounts will increase from $200,000 to $500,000 per voucher. There is a 10th category. It's called landscaping equipment. We'll have a separate work group meeting to discuss this in early June, and we'll discuss this equipment category all by itself. This is consistent with how we've rolled out this program in the past and other voucher programs. providing a wide diversity of equipment to participate in the program. Slide 3, please. As I mentioned earlier, we have added commercial hovercraft as an eligible category. New zero-emission vessels and conversions will be allowed. For conversions, we're requiring a valid U.S. Coast Guard certificate of inspection of the USV vessel. Also, annual hours of operations have changed from greater than 800 hours to a minimum of 200 hours per year. Some equipment owners, public entities, must go through a specific purchasing process. We have updated the implementation manual to reflect this process. General Services Administration, or GSA, entities may use GSA vendors, but the GSA vendors must register as a core certified dealer and must be listed in the core voucher request. We've also added that governmental entities and public agencies may submit a letter of intent in lieu of a PO when procurement policies and timelines are prohibitive. Also, non-governmental purchasers who are combining core with other incentives may also be prohibited from issuing a PO at the time of their voucher request. We have updated the implementation manual to allow evidence of award to be provided with a letter of intent in lieu of a PO. Slide 4, please. We have many requests from both dealers and purchasers to make checks payable to a third party. For example, the check can pay the purchaser or finance company directly. We also have extended the voucher renewals. Vouchers are valid for 1 year from the date issued by the project administrator. A voucher can be renewed once for up to 8 months. No vouchers can be renewed beyond 20 months from the date of the original electronic voucher request. Equipment leasing and rental companies are also eligible for voucher funding. Leases 3 years or longer, the fleet will be considered the purchaser and will sign the terms and conditions. But for fleets leasing equipment for less than 3 years, the rental or leasing agent will be considered the purchaser who will sign the terms and conditions. Manufacturers cannot set up their own direct rental leasing program. It must be through a third-party entity, such as a dealer or lease rental company. Slide 5, please. The manufacturer's self-purchase has been removed from the implementation manual. In previous iteration of core program, the option for manufacturers to request a self-purchase of a piece of equipment was included, with approval of such requests being considered on a case-to-case basis. Within 6 months of the program being open to voucher requests, staff elected to close this option when the program became significantly oversubscribed, which resulted in a number of manufacturers' self-purchase being denied. In this next iteration of the program, we again anticipate increased demand for voucher requests and have elected not to retain this option of the program going forward. If you have zero-emission off-road demonstration unit, there may be funding available in other CARB programs. Call or write me, and I can get you in contact with the right ARB staff. And also, we have added language to allow electric vehicle supply equipment, or EVSE, voucher redemptions to be requested by a dealer once the necessary infrastructure equipment has been delivered to the equipment deployment location. Also, we've added language to allow multiple equipment vouchers and multiple infrastructure enhancements to be combined to purchase fueling systems according to user needs, as long as the final system fuels the same number of equipment units at similar or greater power levels. And lastly, we've added language to allow third party to the infrastructure purchase, who is not party to the equipment purchase, for example, property owners or finance companies, to be listed on the infrastructure enhancement request form. Slide 6. That was a lot of information and hitting the high points of the implementation manual updates. We're still taking input on the next implementation manual for next year's funding. If a change has not been made that you wanted, continue to work with us. If there's something better that does not work this year, let us know so we can update the implementation manual to make the core process better. Like I said earlier, in the second half of the presentation, Kelstart will be going over the voucher application process and timeline. Here's my contact information, my email address. I also have included the core webpage. Here we find the latest equipment catalog, how to participate, and additional information. Okay, if you have any questions or comments on what I just presented, I will ask you to raise your hand, let us know, and you can ask your question or comment, and we'll then unmute your line. For those of you participating via phone, please press number 2, raise your hand. Actually press #2 to raise your hand. Also, you may ask questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get those one by one. Again, we have stated this before, but please state your name and affiliation before you answer or ask your question, so we all know who we're talking to. So there's my presentation. If you have some questions or comments, I'd like to get into those now, and then we'll get into the second half of the presentation with Kelstart.
Terry Maines, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Good morning. Yes, Terry.
Excellent. Good morning. Hi, I'm Terry Maines. I'm with Orange EV out here in Missouri. Can you please provide what your definition of a small business is? You said that small businesses will be moved to the top of the list if a category maxes out, and there's so many different definitions for what a small business might be.
Right.
Can you provide what definition you are using?
Right. I don't have the California code it is in the new implementation manual, but the basics of it is the business has to be 100 employees or less and have receipts of $15 million or less.
Okay, that's a good start. That's a good place to begin. I'll wait for the manual. Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Doran Milbaum, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Doran Milbaum from ITW GSC. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
I just had a question. If you could reiterate a little bit on the LOI. I understood you said it was for government entities, and I know we brought up on the last call. Is it going to be limited to government entities, or is it certain corporations will be able to use LOIs? All they have to go through their financial justification internally, like an airline.
Right. So we're limited to government agencies and for other folks that are using or stacking with other intensive programs. They have difficulty getting the PO. So that's what we're limited to for this round.
Only if they're stacking, because say an airline has to do an AFE process, it could take 3 to 6 months, as discussed before, to get their financial approval. So they might not be stacking, they might just be going after a voucher, but they can't commit tomorrow without taking it to their finance team to get approval.
That's what we're limited to this go round.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a question on that. Can I have a follow-up question from that speaker? It's so you're saying that the process for approval or acquisition for an airline requires coordination or approval from the FAA before that unit can be agreed to be purchased or procured? That's part of the procurement process, is that correct?
It is not from the FAA. So internally, like say United Airlines, for example, they want to procure, and we've been having discussions with them on getting ready for these voucher programs. So they have to put a cost justification together for their finance team internally. That has to go in front of a finance group. So once the AFE is committed, typically you have to wait 30 to 60 days even to get it on the docket. Because it has to usually be brought up at a senior VP level or beyond an executive committee. So by the time it actually hits the docket, you can be 3 to 6 months. And of course, you know, they're going to be making significant investment in equipment. And they're not looking at just purchasing 1 or 2 units. They're looking at, you know, trying to really impact the fleet in California. So it could be a couple $1 million investment on their behalf. But it's not something that they can say, you know, they commit to in even 2 or 3 months. They have to make sure they have their finances in order before they can actually say, yes, we're going to take advantage of this program. So their discussion in talking to them, their concerns, since on a first come, first served basis, and it's actually not just them, it's a couple in the airlines because they all work the same way. Their concern is by the time they can get their funding approved internally, there may not be any funding left in the voucher, or you might use those funds for a different bucket. And that's what happened last go around is we ran out of funding.
Yes.
We weren't able to take advantage of the program at all.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dorian. Thank you for that information. Right now, we're going to be starting with what we know, which is that the timing for the some of the governmental processes were already defined, and so that's where the letter intent comes in and the stacking. But we'll take this into consideration for next round, because I do think that there is a portion of where if you're trying to move a whole market, if it's based on purchase size of an acquisition, maybe we need to think about the letter of intent expanding. I don't know that we should wait to kick off our program in order to do that, but that might be something that we might wind up bringing to the board in our next proposal to the program evolution in the funding plan. Thank you.
Katrina Crow-Easy, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Hi, this is Katrina Cruz, and with United Airlines, so complementing what Doran was saying. Another alternative or consideration would be just having clear timelines. I know that currently it just the release date. So even if we knew in advance when the funding would become available, we could go through that AFE process with knowing that monies are going to be available at a certain date or time, so that we can make those internal discussions happen with all the appropriate stakeholders in advance, knowing that there's such a short turnaround on the funding. That would be another, like I'm here today. I mean, I can even, yeah, we could technically start the conversation with our team internally now, understanding that the intent would be that there will be monies becoming available soon. But even having a clear timeline for opening and closing of applications could be another tool that could be helpful to us.
That's a great point, Katrina. And I don't want to, jump into Jacob's presentation. We will be presenting when we're opening the vouchers here in the next little bit, but that is a good point.
Thank you.
Terry Maines, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Hi, Terry Mannies again from Orange EV. During some of our meetings previously, we had discussed that oversubscribed categories would prioritize both small businesses and projects located in disadvantaged communities. Is the disadvantaged community part still going to also be prioritized?
Yes. So
Okay.
as I said, and reading the presentation is not sometimes the best way to do it, but it does get all the information out there. But so the priority is for small businesses and disadvantaged communities.
Okay.
So they get moved to the top of the list.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Just wanted to double check.
Dave Cook, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Yeah, this is David Cook with Rail Propulsion Systems. I downloaded a copy of the implementation manual, and I have a question on page 23. It says under conversion kits, the model is only intended for installation on equipment no older than 20 years with an existing internal combustion engine. Does that mean that equipment that was already converted is not eligible?
Yeah, so we're looking at pieces of equipment. So like, switchers or yard trucks that have a existing combustion ignition engine in there, remove the engine and install zero emission powertrain, and then enter that into service.
So a locomotive that has had its diesel engine removed and has batteries installed and is already in service is not eligible for a core voucher. Is that correct?
So if it's already in service, then what would you need to sell it after that? So it's already in service?
No, it's in service. It just doesn't have a paying customer yet. So basically, the manufacturer is supporting the locomotive at its own cost at a rail yard that uses it occasionally, awaiting funding.
Okay, so again, we set up the program so that we can get diesel engines out of service and zero emission powertrains into California.
I'm sorry, I thought the goal of CORE was to help purchasers overcome the incremental cost barrier of cleaner off-road equipment.
That's a goal also.
Right, and CORE doesn't require scrappage of an existing piece of equipment. So why would
We
you
do not.
preclude?
So I'm sorry, Dave. I'm
I'm
sorry, David, but so it sounds like there was already, this project might have already received funding for conversion of diesel to zero emission. So there's already been an public investment made. Is that right?
No, that's incorrect. Actually, we have done this at our expense.
Well, but again, so you've already done that and you've eliminated it and you have a user. Is that what it is? So your purchaser can't buy the unit or doesn't want to buy the unit?
So the purchaser is a rail yard that has 3 1950s locomotives in a disadvantaged community, and they're more than happy to keep their cheap old dirty locomotives running, which there's nothing in California law that precludes them from doing. And as long as we provide our locomotive for free, they're willing to operate it occasionally or full time.
So
But
I'm sorry.
our problem is providing the funding to maintain it, keep it running, and improve it at our own cost.
Yeah, this is for the purchaser. I mean, the main point of this program is to get the purchaser to begin using and see the performance capabilities of zero emission technology. And thank you for being able to do that now at your own expense. But the purchaser needs to make the commitment for that shift for their own business operations. And so that's what we're trying to find, the different avenues where that may be. It might be funding, it might be training, it might be infrastructure, it might just be market acceptance. And so that's what we're trying to do across the board. And that's why I think that CORE has grown so much in this second round of funding, because we're expanded beyond freight to construction to ag. And so there's a lot to be had for the zero emission markets that are moving now. And so.
Well, that's all fine and great, but how many zero emission switcher locomotives are in service today?
Well, we have many railcar movers. And that's my thing is they're doing the same sort of functions, and we're adding switchers today to this round. So we've been able to do that. So that's good. And that we even have funding for it. There's no guarantee. And to Terry's, not Terry, it was the United Person's comment about knowing the timing of release is we get an appropriation maybe annually, maybe not. This is only our second round. We've been around for, the first round was we started in 2019 is when we initiated that process. And so there's no guarantee for funding the next time. So we are trying to get the commercial market to be able to move to zero with as many units as possible. And that distribution, what we're learning for off-road is given the diversification of use, it's really that customization and sort of like build to order kind of units. Those are rough, those are tough, but we're trying to move the whole market across. So do we start with the one with that based on population, or do we the number of units and sales volume, or what do we need to do in order to encourage the market to take hold on its own? So I'm sorry.
I'd recommend funding an existing piece of equipment that has a running history would be a way to start showing market acceptance of this. And I'm aware of the 2019 start of this program because we applied for a voucher under a manufacturer purchase and were denied because there was considered a difference between zero emission switchers and railcar movers. So we had to wait until this round of funding to apply for the zero emission switcher. And now the rules are changing to preclude our unit because it doesn't have a diesel engine to remove. And you have a rule that says equipment manufacturers cannot be allowed to rent or lease their own zero emission equipment.
So
as a small company, I think my only way to comply
I'm sorry,
with this.
David, but thank you for your comment. That rule in particular, where there was an existing diesel engine in an operable chassis, was always there. I mean, in terms of self-purchase, we had started off self-purchase in the first round because we really weren't sure about the market acceptance and the intersection of the market relative to incentives. And so once we saw all of the application and the interest, there was no longer a need for that. So we have not yet opened that, but there might be some consideration points for, like I said, the variation in market for off-road. If there's based on population, that there might be a reason for that, but that's for the next round of the funding plan coming up. So thank you for your comment. I'm not sure that we'll be able to address all of your issues, but we've taken, actually, I do know that we're not addressing all of your issues, but we've taken all of the comments that we've had thus far, and that's what's based on that public process. In order to get the program launched with this round of funding, we've published this IM according to those updates. And so that's the specific feedback that we're looking for. And so, so thank you for yours, but I'm not sure that we'll be able to make that change to accommodate your particular situation. Nimra, please, next commenter, please.
Charlie Bogue, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Thank you. This is Charlie with Charlie Bogue with Wind and Wing Technologies. I apologize, I came a little late, so perhaps this was already covered, but I just had a question about if there's a user, this is pertaining to commercial hovercraft, if there's a user that has already purchased equipment that has not been installed, it's going through like the approval process for installation, is there a retroactive funding capability in the commercial hovercraft, or does this have to be looking forward only for pre-purchase approval before purchasing new equipment? So there's that.
Right. That's how this program works, right? So you have, and we'll touch on this in the next half of the presentation. You have a manufacturer that has a product available. You have an owner that wants to put that product on either on their vessel or buy a piece of equipment. You work through a dealer, and so the voucher is happens at the dealer. So the purchaser gets the voucher taken off at the point of sale. So that's typically how it works.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking in light of the latest hovercraft rule, that's kind of where things changed. So this was something that was done ahead of time at their own goodwill, but then now with the new rules, that maybe change how that applies. But thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to move over to a written question.
Okay, thank you, Emma.
Yeah, by Curtis Clark. It says, when you say core certified vendor, is that the equipment manufacturer, the dealer, or both? And does that certification have to be done on Kelstart?
Right, we'll touch on that in the second half of the presentation. So a vendor would be either equipment manufacturer or a dealer. So equipment manufacturer could be their own dealer and sell a piece of equipment, but typically a manufacturer goes to a dealer into the owner's hands. So that's the typical way.
Thank you, Todd. There are no written questions or raised hands at this time.
Okay. Well, I think we should just jump into the Kelstart presentation if Jacob wants to jump into that, and then we can answer Kelstart questions. And then if we have time at the end, we can answer questions from both presentations. So thank you, everybody. I'll turn it over to Jacob.
All right, good morning. Just give me 1 second here to get my screen working. Can everybody see the slides?
Yes, very clear.
Perfect. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As Todd said, my name is Jacob Whitson. I'm a project manager here at Kelstart, and we are the project administrator of the Clean Off-Road Equipment Voucher Incentive Project, also known as CORE. And today I'll be going over, just give you a brief overview. Some of it might be stuff Todd went over, and then an outline and overview of the steps to participate as a manufacturer, a dealer, and an equipment user. So like Todd mentioned, CORE is a voucher incentive project to purchase or lease zero emission off-road equipment. And the goal is to offset cost of this technology with point of sale discount. And there is additional funding for charging and fueling stations, equipment deployed in disadvantaged and low-income communities, and equipment operated by small businesses. As Todd mentioned, in this updated implementation manual and iteration of CORE, there is 9 equipment funding categories for the heavy-duty off-road equipment types. The first being terminal tractors, transport refrigeration units, large forklifts and container handling equipment, airport ground support equipment, rail car movers and switcher locomotives, mobile power units, and shore power cable management systems. Construction equipment is a new category, agriculture equipment, and commercial hovercraft. Those 3 there at the bottom, including switcher locomotives, are new equipment types and or categories in the CORE program. So the eligible equipment and voucher amounts, as you can see here on this slide, are updated on the CORE webpage. So please visit the CORE catalog and you'll be able to see the current eligible categories and equipment that are in the program as of today. You can see the up to voucher amounts for each of the individual categories here. And we will be working, CARB will be working with any new manufacturer applications to come up with their specific voucher amounts as those applications, manufacturer applications for their equipment start coming in. For example, for agriculture or hovercraft or the switchers or construction. So we're going to jump into the steps to participate for, like I said, manufacturers, dealers, and then equipment users. So first, for manufacturers, we definitely encourage you to review the CORE implementation manual, which is currently posted on our website. The updated version is there. Compile all the documents outlined in attachment A. So attachment A is the equipment eligibility application, part of the implementation manual. Send the complete application packet to core@arb.ca.gov. CARB handles all of the eligibility applications for the CORE program. And in parallel with that, advise your dealers to enroll in the program. And so that's at a high level, the steps to participate for a manufacturer. These are the 2 sections of the equipment eligibility application, attachment A of the implementation manual. So these are the different components and criteria that you're going to be asked about in the application that you submit to CARB for eligibility. I'm not going to read all of these off, but you can see them there on the screen, and we can provide these to you, and they're on the website and in the attachment as well. So to become a dealer, it's pretty easy. It takes 4 steps. Review the training material located on the CORE webpage. You'll notify the CORE admin, which is Kelstart, at CORE dealer training at californiacore.org to show your interest in becoming a CORE approved dealer. There is a quiz that we will send you that just shows that you reviewed the implementation manual, and you must score 100% on the quiz. and submit the required documentation to core admins, which is Kelstart, which is a W-9 and a dealer terms and condition form that has different requirements that you certify you will abide by to become a core dealer. So pretty straightforward for the dealer. It's very simple. Like I said, the folks here at Kelstart and you'll be working with is Cassandra and Nestor and myself. And again, just email core dealer training at californiacore.org and we can get you set up to become a core dealer. Like I said, all the training materials are located on our webpage under the Participate tab. So go ahead and visit our webpage and or email us, and we can get you down the right path to become a dealer in the core program. Now for our equipment users or purchaser or your customers, it's fairly simple for them as well to participate. This program was designed to be streamlined and be as efficient as possible. So the dealers and manufacturers really take on a lot of the work on behalf of the purchaser to submit the actual voucher request. So for an equipment user, if that's you and you're listening, you must be a business or governmental entity in California. This equipment is not for personal use, in your backyard or something like that. Definitely need to be using it in a business setting, or you must be, a government or public agency. Equipment must be domiciled and operated in California for at least 3 years. So the term of the voucher is for 3 years from the date you receive or your equipment is delivered. And there is some reporting that is required during that 3-year period, activity reports. And the size of the fleet or your fleet does not affect the voucher amount, and equipment users have no limit on the number of vouchers for which they can apply. So you can apply for as many vouchers as you need, and there's no limitation if you have a small fleet or big fleet on if you are eligible or not. So we encourage you to work, if you're an equipment user, to find a dealer and to work with them. If you need help with different equipment types or different dealers, please reach out to us and we can definitely connect you with the approved dealer list and the different equipment that's in the catalog. So like I said, equipment user steps to participate. You're going to select the equipment that suits your needs from the core catalog, which you can find on our website under the catalog tab. You're going to contact an approved dealer. Like I said, they are trained to submit the core voucher request on your behalf. They will work with you on it with all the paperwork and make sure your voucher gets submitted. Provide the dealer with the equipment domiciled location and other required information. This will help determine if you are eligible for a disadvantaged community or low income incentive plus up. And other required information, small business information to see if you are eligible for a small business plus up. Once you submit your voucher, you'll wait until you receive your approved funding status. And then once you have your approved funding status, you will purchase your core discounted equipment from your dealer. So it's pretty streamlined for the equipment user, and we're here to help you with that process and your dealers as well. So please, again, reach out to your dealers. You can find the list on the website, and we are here to help you as well. So just to go over timeline a little bit, where the implementation manual is being released today. We're accepting manufacturer applications to get more equipment in the core catalog. So if you're a manufacturer and you have equipment you'd like to be eligible in core, please submit those to CARB, and that's attachment A. If you're a dealer, please contact Kelstart at core dealer training email, which was on the slide previously. And if you're an equipment user, you can start working with your dealers to prepare your paperwork to submit vouchers. And so voucher requests will open in July. So we're giving about a 2-month window to give manufacturers time to get their applications in to get more zero emission equipment in the core catalog, and dealers time to work with their purchasers or equipment users to start getting their paperwork in order. And so voucher requests will start being submitted in July. And more information will be sent out over the coming weeks. So please register for our listserv. You can email info@californiacore.org to sign up for our email list and stay tuned to the specific opening date for voucher requests, but it will be in July. So I will stop there. And if we have any questions, we can take those related to how to participate or any updates or clarifications in the most recent IAM that was released today.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. One question I keep getting though is if this presentation is going to be available and where it'll be posted, if it is.
I believe so. I think Todd mentioned at the beginning that it will be posted in about 2 weeks on the low carbon transportation webpage, on CARB's webpage.
I think Jacob, I think folks are asking if the your presentation, your slides will be posted. So maybe we can post those on the Kelstart webpage.
Yeah, we can post those on the core page. So yeah, we could do that. Sorry, I didn't realize I had my video off the whole time.
We've got a question from Terry Mannies. Is there a due date to become a dealer?
No, there's no due date. So at any time, even outside of this next 2 months, you can request to become a core dealer.
Awesome, thank you. We've got a question from Daniel Langmaid. When did you say updates to lawn and garden equipment will be completed or estimated to be completed?
Right. So for we just touched on the lawn and garden. We'll be having our first work group meeting probably at the beginning of June to kick off that part of the core program.
Thank you. A question from Bill Wost. When in July will voucher requests be accepted?
The specific date will be coming out soon, but it will be in July. So as we get here a little closer, probably in a couple of weeks, we'll have a specific date for you. And we'll be working obviously with the dealers and manufacturers to make sure they're prepared to submit voucher requests on behalf of their purchasers.
Thank you. Another question from Bill Wost. From voucher submitted date, how long until the voucher is approved or denied?
There's a couple of factors that go into that. So like Todd mentioned earlier, if a category is oversubscribed, an equipment category is oversubscribed, within the first 5 days, then there'll be some type of prioritization where we'll be moving small businesses and disadvantaged communities to the front of the line. So anytime after that 5-day mark, you should be getting a voucher status update fairly quickly after 5 days from when the voucher requests open.
Thank you. We've got a question from Amy Quamel. What is the process for existing dealers and manufacturers?
I can answer the question on the dealers, and maybe Matt or Todd can answer the existing manufacturer question. So for the dealers, if you're already a dealer in the core program, over the next 2 months, you'll probably be receiving a simple questionnaire or quiz just to take to make sure you reviewed the most recent IM. But that's something that, you know, Kelstart will reach out to the dealers directly that are already approved in the program and work with you directly. So just stay tuned for that if you're an existing dealer.
Existing manufacturers, please reach out to me if you're already participating in the program to update your information to continue your eligibility.
All right, thank you. I've got a question here from Lauren Dunlap. How much funding will be released in July? Is it all 195 million?
So the allocation that will be released in July is approximately 125 million. So that $195 million number, 30 million of that is from SB 170, which is for the small off-road equipment for professional landscapers, for small businesses or sole proprietors. So 30 million of that 195 is for that. Like Todd mentioned, that will be developed separately from this work group, and that work group will take place in June. The other 30 million of that was early action funds that was already encumbered and funded projects from the contingency list from the first round of core, which then leaves us with the approximately, like I said, 125 million that will be released in July.
Thank you. Got a question here from Eric Bayani. Please explain how equipment owners will receive the charger voucher. Is there a disadvantage community additional discount?
So the infrastructure voucher will be submitted like in the first round alongside and with the equipment voucher. So they'll be submitted together. The dealer will request on behalf of the purchaser the makeup of the type of infrastructure that suits the needs of that purchaser, and then the dollar amount will be applied to that infrastructure part of the voucher depending on the what they submit. Of course, I think it's $3,000 or $30,000 depending on the makeup of the EVSE. And then for the DAC component of that question, if the equipment is domiciled at a disadvantaged community and operates in that disadvantaged community, then they would be eligible for a 10% plus up or 10% additional incentive of the base voucher amount. But it's not a 10% for the infrastructure, it's for the equipment.
Thank you. Question from Thomas Lester. Jacob, can you provide your email for more direct questions and conversations?
Yes, let me type that into the chat here, or the question.
And I think the last question we have is here is just, I think they just wanted a link to where this information will be posted. So I'm guessing where the presentations and things will be posted.
I will provide.
Yeah, and again, if you can't find the information, you can always email me, and I'll get you the information you're looking for. And
yeah, visit our webpage. I put the link in the question there, and it will be posted in the next couple of weeks.
We have a couple of raised hands. So Robert Hasbrock, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Yeah, thanks. Just a quick question on mobile power unit definition. Does that mean something that is powered by the power system, or is the wheels has wheels that are powered by and transport, or is it portable equipment that is a skid mount and powers things?
Robert, that's a great question. Right now, we have things that are on wheels that are able to power different things. All right at this point in time, everything is self-propelled. If you have a product that is not self-propelled, that we could definitely take a look at that. Something that's more on the what we call it with ARB, we call portable. As long as it has high enough power needs and it's going to power something using off-road, right? So we don't want to invest in something that's going to power, say, on-road trucks or on-road cars or something like that. We want this to stick with off-road.
Thank you.
Amy Quemel, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Hello. Hi, guys. Thanks for
Morning.
everything today. Good morning. A quick question on the forklift categories in particular. So it says in the implementation manual, it says up to 15,000 or up to 20,000. What distinguishes the up to amounts? I mean, is there variations in between, or is that a flat voucher amount?
There are variations in between. The only set voucher amount we have right now is for yard goats, yard tractors.
Okay, and that's based just on a case-by-case basis, or when you submit, then you guys decide how much a voucher is?
Right.
Okay.
Brad Groders, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Thanks. Brad Groders with Beam Global. Thank CARB staff and Kelstart for putting together this presentation today, and what a great program it is. I have a follow-up question on the previous commenter's question on infrastructure, and maybe it is an implementation manual. I have not had a chance to rip through it yet during the presentation, but what is the power output level determination on charging equipment and that associated? Is that listed in the implementation manual?
So we left it open from our conversations with you and other manufacturers, and we're leaving it more up to the off-road equipment owner on what they can use for their equipment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Todd.
Yeah, but the voucher amounts are based off of if it's greater or less than 50 kilowatts for electric, and then there's a separate infrastructure based voucher amount for hydrogen fueling. So the voucher amounts are set based off of that output capacity, but like Todd mentioned, when you have the ability, there's a little more flexibility this round for you to decide what's best for your user and have a variety of makeups, but the base voucher amounts are set.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. And thank you for making the adjustment this time around in the implementation manual. I really appreciate it.
Terry Maines, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Hello again, Terry Maines from Orange EV. Thank you for this really informative presentation. We appreciate it very much. The set amount for terminal trucks does it include the possibility of a plus up for those that are small businesses or in disadvantaged communities? Or is that the flat amount no matter where it's located?
No, so go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, so all the equipment categories are eligible for the 3 plus ups. So that would be disadvantaged community, low income, small business, and infrastructure plus ups or enhancements. So the base voucher amount for yard trucks is 120,000,
Right.
but they are eligible to receive the 3 additional plus up amounts as long as those don't exceed a $500,000 cap. No voucher can exceed 500,000, which I don't think even with those 3 plus ups they would reach that cap.
Okay, hold on. So if I can ask a follow-up question there, if no voucher can exceed $500,000, you said that there's unlimited a company can apply for as many vouchers as they'd like. So is that no customer can receive more than $500,000, or no voucher for a single item can be more than $500,000?
Correct. No individual voucher can exceed $500,000.
Okay, thank you. I understand now. Thanks so much.
Amy Quemo, you have been unmuted. Please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and please ask your question.
Amy Kemmel with Excel list again. Sorry, I wasn't quite finished last time, so I was still talking. So anyways, quick question. So if it's the category amounts are determined on a ad hoc basis or as you go, how do we present that to a potential customer? Because they're going to want to know what their discount is. So up to 90,000 or up to 500,000, that's a big variation. So how quickly can we get that information from you guys?
So that's something that Matt and the CARB team will work with you on when you receive your eligibility letter after you've submitted your application. Matt will that number will be known at that time. So it's the set voucher amount for that piece of equipment.
Okay. Now, and are these amounts set? Are these done, or are these still open for the amounts in the implementation manual? Are they those are final, or are they still open for feedback?
The up to voucher amounts, those are, we've accepted and solicited public comment over the last several work groups. So those up to amounts are, set for this round, but then the individual voucher amounts that come out of your equipment eligibility process with CARB, those will happen in real time. So, if you're going to submit a new forklift model tomorrow, that specific forklift model will receive a specific voucher amount, just not greater than that up to number for that category.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm done now.
Thank you, Amy.
We'll move over to a couple of written questions. So we have a question here. How are rental leasing companies different from dealers? Do they register with Kelstart?
So if going back to Todd's comments earlier in his presentation, if the lease is longer than 3 years, then that leasee would just be considered a purchaser, and who they're purchasing or leasing the equipment through would be the dealer. And then if it's less than 3 years, the lease is less than 3 years, so it's a leasing company. For example, let's say a piece of construction equipment is being bought by a rental or leasing company, and they're doing more short-term leases, then that rental or leasing company would need to reach out to Kelstart and potentially become a dealer. So if you're less than 3 years, please reach out to us.
Thank you, Jacob. We've got a question here from Randy Fuss. Is the 20% per category based on the 195 million or the reduced amount released in July?
That is based off the amount released in July.
Awesome, thank you. At this time, we do not have any written questions or raised hands.
Okay. Amrit, maybe we can put up that last slide on my presentation to show my email address again. So if folks have questions, they can email me directly. I can get it to the right person and get your question answered. Also on that page is the Kelstart core webpage address. And there you can go and see the updated webpage and visit the new IM. So again, my name is Todd Sterling. Thank you, Jacob, for your help today. Lots of good questions and good interaction with everybody. So thank you for that. If you have questions or comments after this meeting, we'll wrap this up here now. Send me an email and I'll be sure to help you out. With that, if there's no more questions or comments, I'll double check with Amrit.
Not at this time, Todd.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everybody for participating in the third core work group meeting. Again, great program. I'm excited about it. We're getting a lot of zero emission equipment into the hands of Californians and really exciting program. Really exciting time for this. So thank you everybody for your participation today, and have a great Tuesday. All right, bye now.